Well, can you believe it? We're more than halfway through the high school football season. We've got district action coming up in soccer this week. Big upset in volleyball last night. All kinds of stuff going on, and you've come to the right place to hear all about it. You're listening to Fanfare High School Extra. Wayne Dzubak along with Dave Burnett. Dave, it's been a busy week already, and it's going to get busier.
Yes, it is. It's interesting when it comes to football. Things beginning to sift out. We're seeing where people are laying and what teams are going to be there at the end of the season. Same thing when it comes to, of course, soccer, volleyball. As, you get into October, and we pretty much know where things are laying.
Well, it's amazing. Soccer, the district tournaments start on Friday, actually, and then they really get into action on Saturday. So it's already district time, and before you know, we'll be talking football playoffs. But right now we've got a lot of teams that are vying for the playoffs, and we've only got one undefeated team left here in the West, and that would be Eagle at 6-0.
Correct.
But, especially in 4A right now, you've got some teams that are going to fight it out, and we'll talk about that. So we're really getting down to where these games have become meaningful.
Yeah, let's go ahead and look at the 5A standings.
Sure.
I have the state standings right now that the media has voted upon, and as we mentioned before, this is always tough because people in the South, we don't see the North, we don't see the East. The East doesn't see this district, but this is way voted out by the media. Number one in the state is Highland, which goes to figure.
Sure.
They always have a good program over there. They're undefeated at 6-0. Coeur d'Alene comes in second. They're 5-1, and their one lone defeat was against Highland.
Mm-hmm.
So, that would figure. Eagle, undefeated, 6-0 is number 3. Capital at 5-1 is number 4. Lake City is number 5 at 5-1.
Now, let me tell you, I don't lose sleep over these polls, but I will tell you this. I don't think there's any way in all, that you can put a 6-0 team behind a 5-1 team.
I couldn't
Not
see
at this
it.
point.
Well, I guess, especially when Coeur d'Alene, they lost soundly to Highland. It wasn't like it was really close. So for them to do that, again, I don't know how many voters there are.
Sure.
If there's more in the north than there's in the south, I don't know. But, that's where the 5A shakes out. And it kind of gives us an idea who the 5 real players are. Of course, you always have that upset in there. Timberline hoping to sneak in there with their one loss that they have. They're hoping to sneak up and in there as well.
Well, you got to talk like a coach. And a coach would say something like, we don't really pay attention to the polls. We go out there and we take every game and every play one at a time.
Sure they do.
Yeah, I know. Now, but speaking about the polls, we've got a top 5 matchup Friday night here on 630 The Fan in 4A, don't we?
We do. We have shifted down to 4A this week, taking a look at this. And here's the way the 4A state standings shake out right now. Blackfoot is number 1 at 5-0, which, of course, on the east side of the state. Bishop Kelly is number 2 at 5-1. Middleton, number 3 at 5-1. And Kuna is number 4 at 5-1. Lakeland, by the way, is at number 5 at 4-2.
Wow.
How a 4-2 team makes the number 5?
They're just kind of running out of teams, I guess. That's usually what happened. I used to vote on the poll, years ago. And at some point, when you get down to 4A, 3A, 2A, you're kind of running out of teams, and sometimes they're like 2 and 3, and you go, okay, they're a good 2 and 3.
Yeah. So, but nonetheless, here in the Treasure Valley, the teams to watch are Bishop Kelly, Middleton, and Kuna. We saw the fact that on the schedule, now we had talked about Middleton. They're playing Caldwell, not quite as strong a game as Bishop Kelly and Kuna, which really a lot of the marbles on the table for that game.
Should be interesting. I mean, I talked to both coaches, Tim Brennan from BK and Ian Smart from Kuna, and they are both excited about this game. It means a whole lot to both coaches, to both teams. And obviously, when you get back to what happened last Friday night, Kuna came in to Friday night 5-0. They went into Skyview, and they lost to Skyview, and not by much, but they lost to Skyview. And Coach Smart said, he didn't really think his team was prepared for how big that game was going to be or how much people are after them. And now he thinks it was a wake-up call.
So the question is that team that has to play them the week after getting beat, sometimes that's a tough one to get ready for because now suddenly they have a purpose in what they're doing. Yeah,
Bishop Kelly last week beat Caldwell 41-6, and that's kind of what led us into the direction of going to BK and Kuna. Kuna did lose to Skyview 22-14, and Middleton beat Mountain Home by a score of 56-34. But again, as we've mentioned, Kuna and Bishop Kelly both sitting at 5-1 right now. The game is at BK. It's going to be a tough place. It's a tough place for Kuna to play. But Coach Smart thinks that he's got a pretty good football team and thinks that they can pull the upset, as well he should think.
Well, 6:30 will be the pregame start Oh, it's like that 6:30. The Fan and 6:30 start.
That's
time.
easy to remember the pregame because it's 6:30, right? Yeah.
And then 7 o'clock will be our kickoff. And as we've done all season long, we will be doing live video streaming for you as well. So if you have a loved one, a family member who's out of town who can't see the game, maybe you can't make it in for whatever reason, you can watch it online at 630thefan.com. So we'll have that up for you on Friday night, right around 6:15, 6:20.
Yeah, Dave, with that in mind, I was talking to Coach Smart yesterday when I interviewed him down at Kuna, and he's got family in California. He was very happy to hear about 630thefan.com because he says, I know it's not going to be, NBC or, something like that, but I'm going to run down.
Well, it might be.
Oh, come on. Yeah, one camera.
Okay, it's almost like NBC.
But he said that's cool that his family down in California can actually go to 630thefan.com and watch it.
And that's kind of what it's designed for, because there's a lot of people that maybe have grandparents that can't or don't, want to make it out to the game. Go get them set up on a computer. They can watch the game, or somebody out of town. So, and you could always go back and watch the game. Last week's Timberline Capital game up online. You can watch it right now. If you didn't get a chance to see it, maybe you're an opposing school, you want to see it, you can go back and watch it online.
You mentioned Capital right now. They lead Pod A in the F5A SIC with a 5-1 overall record, 2-0 in pod play, and they beat Timberline 28-20 last week. That was a 21-0 game. Capital led it. Last time we saw Capital up by like 23-0, they lost to Eagle. So I'm thinking, I wonder if they can kind of just pull this away. They couldn't. They never really could pull away from Timberline. Timberline came back and made it 21-14 before the final was 28-20. So Timberline still sitting in there. Timberline at 4-2 overall. They've still got a shot at the playoffs. But Capital does lead the Pod A and 5A, and Eagle at 6-0 leads Pod B.
And both of these teams, they have their eye on, well, again, the coach would say, no, we don't. But November 21st, that's when the state championship is. That's the ultimate goal for these teams, to work their way through the schedule, work their way through the playoffs, and to make it to that November 21st playoff date.
Well, let's talk about this week starts on Thursday night, Napa at Timberline. That's going to be at Donald Larson Park. And then Friday night in 5A, Boise is at Mountain View, Bora at Rocky, Centennial Capital, Meridian at Columbia, and Valley View at Eagle. Anything stand out there for you?
I think the Timberline game will be interesting. It is Nampa. Nampa has proved to be a little stronger than some thought. I mean, Columbia moved up from 4A along with Nampa. Columbia has struggled, but Nampa they've shown that they can play with the big boys, and it'll be interesting to watch. It is at Donald Larson Park, very different environment. Nampa used to a grass field. They'll be playing over at Donald Larson on a synthetic turf. So a little different feel to it, but a good opportunity for the Bulldogs.
And it's a big game because the Bulldogs are 1-1 in pod play, and Timberline's 0-2. They're 3-3 and 4-2 respectively. But in pod play right now, Nampa's got the edge, and if they win that one, go 2-1, and Timberline goes 0-3, it's pretty much done for T-Line.
Yeah, and it's interesting that pod play, it changes the complexion of everything within the divisions now that they have two different divisions.
And the last time we saw Timberline, very towards the end of the game, Ty Zimmerman, their star running back, who I was very impressed with last week, hurt his toe. And we don't know what his status is, how good he is, because I'll tell you what, you say, he hurt his toe. Sometimes hurting a toe is the worst thing. You cannot walk.
If you're running back.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot do anything without good toes.
Yeah, a little turf toe, it's never a good thing to have.
Yeah, no question.
So that'll be the 5A games. As Wayne mentioned, we're doing the 4A game this week. It'll be Bishop Kelly and Kuna. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, going to be talking to the head coaches. You had a chance to sit down with them earlier this week and find out what they have to say about coaching.
Yeah, see how much they love it and what's the best thing about coaching.
We'll continue on the other side. It is your Fanfare High School Extra here on Sports Radio 630.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Fanfare High School Extra. Wayne Dzubak and Dave Burnett with you. As always, on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, we talk about everything that is in high school sports. And a little later on, we'll be talking about district soccer getting underway. We'll talk about a big upset there was in volleyball. We'll even talk a little bit of hockey coming up. But first, we want to get back to football and talk a little bit more about that Bishop Kelly and Kuna game that we have coming up here on 6:30 The Fan Friday night. Pregame at 6:30, kickoff at 7. And again, as always, live video streaming on 630thefan.com. Dave, I'm really looking forward to this. This is an intriguing matchup. The Cavemen are a big physical team, and Bishop Kelly again's got all the talent in the world, and looking for an exciting showdown.
Yeah, this does prove to be, I'm guessing at this point, or hoping at this point, the best game in the Valley coming up this week is two strong competitive teams, teams with winning track records, and going at it at Bishop Kelly. So I'm excited to get in, see a little 4A football action as we're looking at really two of the best 4A teams in the state.
And it's really a big game for Kuna because right now in conference play they are 1-1, while Middleton is 2-0 and BK is 2-0. So if they lose and go 1-2, and Middleton wins, and of course BK would have won, then all of a sudden they're losing contact with those two teams. They're at the top of the conference, so they've got to stay with them. So Kuna's got to commit. I think it's a bigger game for Kuna by far than it is for Bishop Kelly. But all three of those teams I mentioned, BK, Middleton, and Kuna, are 5-1 overall. But right now it's all about what you are in conference, and Kuna's playing a little bit of catch up.
One of the things that takes place, I think, not only in college but in high school, one of the key elements in any team is the coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, in pros, you're going to have a Peyton Manning. He's going to be in there 12, 13 years. When you come down to high school and college, you got these players for a couple of years. They come, they go. You think about it. But the coach is sometimes a factor that is there for years and years and years. And two good coaches at both of these schools.
Yeah, Tim Brennan and Ian Smart at BK and Kuna, respectively. I had a chance to talk to both yesterday. And let's hear first from Tim Brennan. He's the BK coach. And I thought it might be interesting to find out what it is that they love about being a coach. Here's Tim Brennan from BK.
Probably this time in my career, it's just watching the young men develop and how they've changed from year to year and how they change within a season and watching them have success and a light bulb goes on in their head and they figure things out and you think, wow, that's pretty cool. And so like any profession, I think it's about the relationships you develop with the players and with the coaches you coach with, and even the opponents and the opponents' coaches. A lot of the coaches in the Valley are really good friends of mine, and we got to play each other on Friday night. And so it's all about developing relationships and trying to develop these young men into becoming, productive citizens when they graduate from high school.
Tim Brennan, the head coach of the Bishop Kelly Knights, talking about why he loves to coach these kids. And you could probably figure out a lot of what he said, that he just loves having an effect on the kids and seeing them be successful. Talk to Ian Smart. He's the head coach of Kuna. He's only 30 years old. He's happy to be a head coach, very grateful to be a head coach. And here's what he likes most about coaching these young kids.
When you get to work with a kid, the thing I loved about football was the chance to do something you love, and I know these kids love playing football, and the opportunity my coaches gave me as a kid to do the thing I loved made an impact that I've kind of kept with me my whole life. And so what I'm hoping to do is connect with these kids, give them someone that they can talk to. If they're having a bad day, they can come talk to me. Football is kind of just a byproduct of it. I want them to have someone here that they can confide in, and that they know when they come to practice, when they come to games, they have someone that believes in them. And I think if you do that and the kids believe that, you're going to win games.
So Ian Smart, the head coach of Kuna, the Cavemen, and a big game coming up. So as you can see, these two coaches, Dave, just really are in it to really make these kids successful.
And I do want to make mention when it comes to the Kuna Cavemen, this is a team that overcame a lot of adversity last year. You had a player injured on the field. You also had a player hurt in an accident off the field. And really, the team and the whole community came together to help support these kids and get them back, going the right direction again. So it's a program with a lot of emotional ties from the community, from the teammates, from former teammates who have now graduated and moved on. So really excited to see this game coming up on Friday night.
And, of course, the atmosphere of BK Friday night should be just absolutely fantastic.
Yep. So if you cannot make it to the game, and as always, we encourage everyone to go to these games, support the kids, whatever the school is, whether you have kids in school or not. And if you can't, you can listen on the radio, or you can take your radio with you. You can also listen online at 630thefan.com or watch the streaming at 630thefan.com as well. And Janice comes out and does a real good job of taking pictures. We have not only the football game, but a lot of the crowd, the cheerleaders, the activities going on online at 630thefan.com. So you might have one of your cheerleaders or somebody in the crowd on the website.
There you go. Let's talk a little bit about the fact what the next 2 weeks bring on a Friday night, because they bring Boise State games, and that really does affect the high school. Boise State hosting Fresno State on the 17th, and on the 24th, BYU in town. Both are Friday night games on national TV, and that drives high school athletic directors crazy.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, I hate it. I really do. I hate it on two levels. Number one, to me, college football really should be at, 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. But I know they extended to Saturday night for TV, and now, fortunately, Boise State doesn't have any Thursday or Wednesday games, but they do have a couple of Friday games. To me, Friday is high school football. That's when it is. Friday Night Lights and high school football, that's where it belongs. So it's got to be a nightmare for these ADs to try to figure out what do we do.
And we'll keep you posted because some teams have already moved their game to Thursday. I know Timberline has moved their game on both the 17th and the 24th to a Thursday night from Friday night. But, of course, they play at Donald Larson Park, so they have to make sure there's availability. Very few teams have their own. So we'll see what's going on. We'll figure out what's going to happen, and we'll keep you posted on where we're going to go with this. But I agree with you. I remember the days when Boise State played at 1:30 on a Saturday afternoon. And
perfect.
By 5 o'clock, you were home. You had Saturday night. You enjoyed college football. And now, you know what? I'm not blaming them. They're getting big bucks to be on TV, and with the status of the financial situation in all college sports, you got to take the money.
Yeah, the last BSU game I watched on TV, and when it ended, I think officially at 12:13, it was over, and it's just like, I'm too tired to even get up and go to bed now.
Well, yeah, the Nevada game. I mean, it was just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I got to stay up till Sunday to watch this.
So now they got a late Friday night game. But nonetheless, it will impact next Friday, not this coming one here, but the 17th and beyond. So we will let you know, and whether we stay 5A, we may go 4A. We'll take a look at the best games available. We may be on Thursday night. We may be on Saturday, maybe on Friday. We'll see how.
Yeah, we'll keep it posted. You got some hockey to talk about, huh?
Well, I did, as a matter of fact. Janice, who's the gal who does the photographing, when she was out, she was hit up by one of the Mountain View hockey team members, reached out to her on Twitter and said, any chance you're giving us coverage with high school hockey?
So has that season started?
Well, they're in the practicing phase right now. They're getting ready to go. They go over the winter. I think February is, when they have their playoffs. But it is a club sport still in town. I think last year, it was Boise and Timberline, a combination team that won their club championship. But it is growing here in the Treasure Valley as more and more kids are playing hockey, starting at a younger age, starting with Pee Wee hockey, now getting up into high school. So, it is one of those things that at one point it may become a regular sanctioned sport by the Idaho Activities Association, but still a club sport. But absolutely, we are going to try to, anything kids are involved in, we want to give them a little
and the
bit of
lacrosse folks too. I mean, when that season comes around, we need to hear about that. So, I mean, we're here. We want to, kind of talk about all the sports that there are.
Yep. Somebody said, would you, in this email or this Twitter, it was, would you ever go consider broadcasting a game? Something
Why not?
We may take a look at that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But definitely want to get you news and information. If you have somebody in the family involved in club sport hockey, send us the information. Let us know. I know the gals play hockey as well. There's a few gals clubs teams out there as well. Send us the information on the games, when they're going to be, what the results are, and we'd love to get them a little attention here in the Valley.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we will continue. Big week for soccer coming up. Also volleyball, some great games this week, some matches. So we will talk about that when we return. It's High School Extra. I'm Dave Burnett along with Wayne Dzubak on Sports Radio 630, The Fan.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Fanfare High School Extra. Wayne Dzubak and Dave Burnett with you, and we're going to be talking a little bit about soccer. Dave, soccer, the district playoffs start Friday with play-in games, and then on Saturday, the winners on Friday move into that 8-team bracket, and they get going. And before you know it, we're going to be talking state championships, and the soccer season's going to be over. How quick did that go by?
Well, and in fairness, soccer started a little better than a week ahead of football, so they've been at it a little bit longer than the football guys have. So busy time right now.
The Eagle girls right now, I got to mention them because they're having a really good year in soccer, okay? Eagle is 13-1-2 overall. Now, remember, Boise undefeated at 15-0-1, but Eagle right there with them. And they just had this week another gal commit to a Division I school, and that's Maggie Burton. She committed to Baylor. She's one of 5 players from Eagle who have committed to Division I schools, or 4 players, rather. The others are Courtney Callister, who's going to Pacific, Corley Stone to Troy, and Emma Bailey's going down to BYU. But to have 4 players commit to Division I schools from a soccer team in Idaho, and this being Eagle, that's pretty impressive.
That is. And, with PAL soccer and the youth soccer here in the Valley, these kids are growing up playing soccer and getting better and better, honing their skills. So by the time they're in high school, they're not learning the game. They have the game down. They're polishing watching the game.
And I got a kudos, a shout out to both Centennial, the boys soccer team, and also to Boise High, the girls soccer team. They finished their seasons undefeated, not unscathed because they had some ties. But Centennial boys 14-0-2 overall, 10-0-1 in conference play, and the Boise gals 15-0-1 as I mentioned. So to go undefeated, that is really tough because I had a boy who played a lot of soccer at a lot of different levels, and soccer is one of those crazy games. You could be the dominant team and you could lose 1-0 just as easy as you could win it 5-0. It's amazing how it goes. Sometimes.
When it's a low-scoring game, it does not take much to upset the apple cart.
I've seen a game where the dominant team is off the post, off the crossbar. Just missed here, just missed there. The other team comes down and one dribbles in and they win 1-0.
Yeah. Or if you have a striker or a forward on your team and they're just having a bad day, it can really affect you.
Speaking about the unpredictable, but before I do, I want to mention one other thing. Tonight at 6:30, so just a short time from now in boys soccer, Middleton is at Bishop Kelly, and BK can wrap up the number 1 seed in the district tournament with a victory tonight. If they lose, Skyview kind of comes into the picture, but bottom line is that's at 6:30 today. Let's get to volleyball for a quick second, where I don't think it was a major upset because I kind of saw it coming, but Eagle was undefeated, 11-0 going into their match last night against Valley View. You've talked about how good the Valley View volleyball team is. They were 8-2 at the time. They're now 9-2 as they beat Eagle in 3 sets last night to win that one.
Yeah, for Valley View, they, as I mentioned, they've always had a pretty, not always, but in recent years, a really strong program. And anytime a team can go in and take on that undefeated team and knock them off their peg, that's just a great feeling and a great confidence builder at this time of the season for Valley View, for the Falcons. That's a huge victory to help push them through the last part of the season.
We're getting down to cross country, and a lot of people are running cross country. Meridian, they went over to Bend, Oregon, and they were in Oxbow, and they competed there, and they finished second. So last week we had the Bob Furman Invitational, 3,600 cross-country runners. We had a couple of teams going off to Portland, one going to Minnesota, at the University of Minnesota. And now we've got teams going all over the place, and having a chance to go over to Bend, Oregon and compete over there for the Meridian Gals. So a shout out to them. Congratulations for a second-place team finish there.
Yep. As we push into October, things beginning to wrap up or getting close to getting down to those playoffs. We'll try to keep you up to date. And we do that online as well at 630thefan.com. You can go and click on the scores. At this point, I know we have most of the 5A and 4A scores that have been given to us. Trying to get more information about 3A and 2A. Sometimes communication a little tougher in some of the smaller school districts.
Yeah, before I forget it, one other soccer note that it happened. It took her a couple times to get it done, but Tarika Nelson scored her 100th goal. She plays for Middleton, and she scored her 100th career goal in soccer. I mean, how great is that? I mean, 4 years divided by that's 25. That's 25 goals
that's
a season.
Good math. Huh? I'm not sure if she averaged that.
It was easy math.
Yeah.
That's as far as I could get, though. It was easy math. That was Idaho State math. That's for sure.
But no offense to the Bengals.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But
so congratulations to her. By the way, before we scoot out of here, do want to thank our sponsors of high school sports, our Champions Club out there, Boise Muffler, who's there, Satellite Systems, MyBullfrog.com, Mountain West Bank, Pro Image. Thank you so much to those sponsors who stepped up and said, yeah, we'll support high school sports. We believe in what's happening for the kids and in your broadcast. So thank you to them. If you would like to thank them as well when you go into their business, tell them, hey, we heard you sponsoring high school sports and we do appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think they can contact you. It's easier because it's hard to spell to Dzubak. But Dave.Burnett at townsquaremedia.com is where they can get you. If you have an interest in becoming a member of our Business Champions Club and supporting these games, to be honest with you, we don't make any money, broadcasting these games. We do it to give the kids the, publicity and the recognition that I think they deserve for doing the things they do in their studies, their athletics, all the things that they do. But we've got that going, and we're going to be moving right along into basketball. We'll be moving right along into some high school baseball. Like you said, we may even decide to do a hockey game.
Sure.
There's a lot of things that we can do, and obviously we need your input as to how we can make it better and what we can do to move forward.
We are going to push on here. Nate Kreckman is standing by the wings with This Week in the Mountain West, but a reminder again for you, Friday night, 6:30, it will be Bishop Kelly taking on Kuna. We'll be headed over to BK to do that. 6:30 the pregame, 7 o'clock will be the kickoff. Of course, on the air here at 6:30 on the dial and online at 630thefan.com. And until then, we will keep you updated with your Fanfare updates as well right here on Sports Radio 630, The Fan.